Close your eyes and listen, not as if you were receiving advice, but as if a clear sentence were being delivered. What you call life is not a chain of random events. It is the faithful reflection of the inner position you have chosen, consciously or without noticing, long before anything appears. There is always a silent cause, imagination held with conviction. That is why this audio carries weight. It does not argue with appearances. It addresses the source. While most people try to repair effects from the outside, this guidance leads you to the only lever that truly moves reality. The state you accept is yours. Understand this clearly. Every thought you allow, every emotion you cultivate, every word you repeat, all of it quietly declares an I am. The universe does not debate that statement, it executes it. If you see yourself as lacking, the world organizes itself to mirror lack. If you see yourself as welcomed, doors with no visible handles open naturally. If you see yourself as restored, the body, with the loyalty of a devoted servant, adjusts itself to match that identity. There is no mystery here. There is law, and the law is simple. What is unseen directs what is seen. The state comes before the event. Faith places the ending at the beginning. Today you are invited into a precise exchange. Release explanations and take position. Step out of the role of one who asks and into the role of one who establishes. The one who creates does not plead for signs. They set the tone. That tone is the sum of your inner posture, the breathing of someone who has already arrived, the look of someone who already holds, the language of someone who does not bargain with doubt. When the tone shifts, the ground rearranges itself. People show up. Paths reveal themselves. Coincidences multiply, not as strange favors, but as the natural response to inner authority. As these words continue, allow your body to learn this accuracy. Let go of managing outcomes and take responsibility for the only task that has ever belonged to you, remaining in the end. See yourself afterward as one who has already gathered the harvest. Feel the relief, the gratitude, the calm certainty of it is finished. It is within this calm that reality yields. Circumstances will try to bargain with your certainty. Do not bargain. The only exchange allowed is doubt for presence, tension for decision. Today you decide who you are, and the world, as always, simply follows instructions. This will simply happen, not through effort, but through alignment. Matter obeys the state you sustain. Honor it quietly. End the habit of asking, and adopt the voice of one who possesses. Notice carefully. Every sentence you repeat inside is already a ruling about your identity. When the mind says I need, I hope, I do not yet have, it sets a climate of absence and calls matching conditions. When the mind says I move as one who already has, the body reorganizes, perception opens, and the outside responds to the new tone. This is not performance, it is governance. The difference is not the words themselves, but where they are spoken from. Some say it will work while secretly asking permission. Others affirm it is done with the calm of someone who already lives there. One asks the visible for approval, the other directs the visible. Today, replace the story of shortage with the language of ownership. Speak to yourself as someone returning from a place where everything has already unfolded. Walk, choose, organize, and give thanks as someone carrying proof within. When old thoughts rise trying to reopen a not yet, do not argue. Return to the state. A full breath, a steady gaze, a short final phrase, it is done. Repeat without strain, not to persuade the world, but to remind yourself of the only reality that matters, the accepted end. And how does this show up in daily life? When you open a door, step through as one who is expected. When you look at your schedule, treat each moment as aligned. When you handle money, do so as one who multiplies, not as one who is losing. When you care for your body, move as someone honoring a sacred space, not fixing a problem. This coherence creates an inner climate that allows no contradiction. Anxiety fades because true possession needs no proof. When appearances shout the opposite, remain soft and grounded. The one who creates does not rush, does not explain, does not defend, they establish. To establish is to set the sentence and refuse to withdraw it. If someone asks, what if it does not happen? Answer inwardly with silence. I do not live in maybe. I live in is. With time, the world bends to the word that stands firm. Opportunities, support, and resources appear not as gifts, but as consequences, because reality does not resist an identity held steadily. Today, stop asking and start assuming. Today, stop listing problems and confirm endings. Today, stop negotiating with doubt. Respect what already is, and everything else will fall into place. Step away from seeking signs and reclaim the authority of cause. When you look outside for permission to believe, you move power from the seat to the reflection. The reflection cannot create, it can only mirror. When you ask, will this work, while checking data, opinions, symptoms, and numbers, you are asking the effect to approve the cause. This reverses the order. The rule is simple. Accept the end now and treat anything that contradicts it as an echo from a former state. Echoes can be loud, but they carry no command. You do not need to silence them, just do not change the channel. Remaining is the work. How is this lived day by day? First, notice what pulls you out of the state, the message that did not arrive, the call that did not come, the unexpected bill, the physical discomfort. When they appear, do not debate. Return to the end, as you would return home. Breathe deeply. Restore the sense of already settled, and close the matter inwardly. I remain. Second, reinterpret resistance as construction. When a structure rises, dust fills the air. Disorder does not mean failure, it signals rearrangement. Third, train your focus. An untrained focus checks the world to decide what is true. A trained focus decides what is true and allows the world to adjust. When faced with refusal, respond with posture, not collapse. Direction is held while details move. Fourth, simplify practice. Do not collect methods like charms. Choose one short scene and one final phrase. Return to them whenever the mind demands proof. Gentle repetition stabilizes certainty. Fifth, give thanks quietly before seeing. Early gratitude is not pretending. It is evidence that you are already there. Those who have received do not announce it. If someone presses you for explanations or timelines, say little. Faith is not a discussion, it is a placement. If questioned again, offer no defense. Defense belongs to fear. Remaining belongs to authority. In time, something unmistakable unfolds. Signs begin to trail behind you. Closed doors open. People who overlooked you reappear. Figures that did not align adjust. Not randomly, but because appearances obey the state you refuse to abandon. Remove signs from the pedestal. The only sign that matters is the inner climate you keep. When that climate reflects an accepted end, the world eventually confirms it. Practice a short, complete scene, like sealing something unseen. A complete scene is a moment that, if real, would end all discussion. It is not a long story, not a sequence of delays. It is the single proof point, a congratulatory embrace, an approval notice, the release in your chest, the sound of access granted. Choose something simple, clear, and sufficient. Shorter is stronger, cleaner is more decisive. Place this scene in the body, not just the mind. Sense the heaviness leaving your shoulders, the breath of someone no longer monitoring, the warmth in the hands, the softened face of someone finished with struggle. Allow a few slow breaths as the scene returns gently, without urgency. Strain signals doubt. Ease signals ownership. Visit this daily, especially upon waking and before sleep, when the mind is most receptive. Do not keep changing it. Stability creates roots. If the mind tries to decorate or explain, bring it back to the minimum that concludes the matter. One key opens the door faster than many. When curious thoughts ask if you are doing it correctly, answer with return, not analysis. Go back to the scene. When circumstances try to buy your attention with stories of delay, pay with presence, not worry, and return to the scene. If the body becomes restless, slow the rhythm. Inhale as one who receives, exhale as one who confirms, and above all, feel the gratitude that comes after the act is complete. Anticipated gratitude is the mark of someone who already possesses. You do not give thanks to persuade anything outside of you. You give thanks because, inside, the decision has already been issued. That gratitude trains your perception during the day. As you walk, let your body carry the trace of a finished story. As you speak, allow your voice to carry the calm echo of it is already done. As you choose in harmony with someone who has arrived. Reality reads consistency and arranges itself accordingly. If opposing images surface, do not battle them. Those images are only the smoke of an old position dissolving. Watch without feeding them and return to the seal. You do not need to defeat the smoke. You only need not to live inside it. With time, the short scene permeates your inner climate, and that climate permeates facts. People adjust their tone, doors gain hinges, roots become obvious, not as a trick, but as form yielding to a settled decree. Remember this clearly: the Creator works with conclusions, not procedures. Your role is to decide the conclusion and revisit it gently until the body understands. When the body understands, the world follows. Today, seal your scene. Let it be rest, not a race. When old urgency returns asking for proof, offer quiet and breath. Someone who has arrived does not shout, they install. Someone who installs begins to see, and someone who sees simply recognizes what was already known inside. Command silently as one who knows where things begin. The word that creates is not the one that tries to be heard. It is the one that rests because the decision has already been made. Every time you describe obstacles, justify delays, or repeat stories of difficulty, you sign instructions that the world rushes to carry out. No sentence is neutral. Every story is an order. Therefore, quiet the weakening commentary and elevate the establishing sentence. Say inwardly, brief and final, "It is done," not to convince anything outside, but to remind your body which state it must keep. A word that argues with itself loses power. A word that rests opens paths. Silence here is not submission, it is authority. A ruler does not explain a decree. It is issued and life proceeds. Practice this quiet command daily. When a message arrives that seems negative at first glance, pause before reacting and reinstall the verdict. I remain in the end. Then respond calmly, choosing actions that match someone who has already received. When entering a room, do not carry a hunger for approval. Carry the certainty of belonging. Someone who belongs does not compete for scraps. They set the table. When the old mind tries to reopen debate, what if it does not happen? What if it is too late? What if there is not enough? Refuse the courtroom. Trade doubt for presence. Inhale as one who receives. Exhale as one who confirms. Declare again, "It is done." This repetition is not stubbornness. It is the maintenance of an atmosphere. A sustained atmosphere compels form. Understand this. Commanding in silence is not inactivity. It is precise action that defines direction before movement occurs. The rush to fix appearances is the sound of fear. The decision that installs the end is the rhythm that aligns all means. Save explanations. Excessive talk about the path is a confession of insecurity. Do the unseen work. Align posture, tempo, choices, and where you place your energy. Remove language that diminishes your future, including humor that belittles you. Self-mockery is a disguised order. Replace it with clear, simple, settled statements. I am welcome. I am guided. I am supported. I am well, not as charms, but as identity. When challenged, do not defend yourself. Establish. Defense hands authority to opinions. Establishing reminds you who writes the law. If someone says your aim is too large, smile and answer inwardly, "It matches me." If obstacles are pointed out, give thanks for revealing where your certainty must remain firm and remain. Remaining is the sign of authority. Authority does not threaten, it fulfills. Continue to command quietly until your presence carries the atmosphere of already is. You will notice doors yielding, people adjusting, solutions appearing where none seemed possible, not as favors, but as the natural response of matter to the voice that conceived it. Someone who commands silently does not chase results. They collect what they have declared, calmly recognizing in the world what was placed in the soul first. Turn time into an ally by installing the end now. Clock time is only the way the world organizes its response to the state you maintain. It is a servant, not a master. When you say someday, you push fulfillment into a horizon that never arrives, because someday belongs to undecided hope. When you choose now, you create an atmosphere that reorganizes means. This is not about instant visuals. It is about living immediately as one who has already received. Someone who has received does not negotiate with deadlines. They structure life from the result. Release the language of when and adopt the language of is. Instead of when I am well, move today with respect for a restored body. Instead of when I prosper, make choices that honor value and opportunity now. Instead of when they accept me, speak and participate as one who belongs. The world reads coherence and responds. Practice the presence of the end through small habits. Upon waking, before touching anything else, establish the atmosphere. Breathe calmly as one who confirms, not as one who asks. See the short scene, the after moment, and rise already carrying its tone. Dress as someone included. Choose words as someone concluded. Plan the day as someone already welcomed. External time begins to bend to the schedule of your already is. People who seemed distant draw closer. Opportunities that appeared closed move forward. Tasks that once felt heavy shorten because identity has resolved them. What you thought was delay was often hesitation within. When the mind suggests postponement, starting later, waiting for improvement, treat that as residue from an old state. Respond with aligned action now, even if small. One small act in harmony with the end outweighs countless plans saved for later. Reality does not measure gesture size. It answers atmosphere. If the clock seems to resist, with pressure, delays, missed links, do not change your state to match the clock. Hold the state and watch the clock adjust through means you do not need to predict. Timelines open when decisions are firm. What must accelerate does. What must wait waits. What does not belong falls away. Not as randomness, but as the logic of a story whose ending is already written. Remember this: urgency is the costume of lack. Readiness is the face of possession. Urgency runs because it doubts ownership. Readiness moves at the correct pace because it already holds. Choose readiness. Measure progress by how stable your assumed now remains, not by surface timing. If your now stays firm, time must organize itself to serve. Here theory ends and identity leads. Everything visible echoes what is unseen. Signs are delayed reflections. A short complete scene seals the conclusion. The quiet word governs. Time yields to the chosen now. This is not decoration. It is instruction. The work is not collecting sentences, but becoming the sentence you repeat. From this moment, resign from asking for outcomes and accept the role of directing reality through the state you honor within. The Creator does not argue with appearances. They set the atmosphere and continue walking. Breathe and recognize that you do not need to persuade the world. You only need not to abandon the end you selected. Regardless of noise, dust, or opinions, your task is to remain with the verdict. It is done. Speak less. Decide more. Simplify practice. One scene, one final word. A body that has learned the calm of arrival. Act immediately in small ways that agree with what already is. Gratitude before seeing is the posture of belonging. Choices that match completion generate a gravity that draws facts, people, and opportunities into alignment. If pressed by time, answer with presence. If tempted by doubt, answer with steadiness. If confronted by contradiction, answer with silence and authority. You are not weighing probabilities. You are fulfilling law, and the law is simple. What you assume with conviction eventually becomes unavoidable in form. The world cannot resist an identity held consistently. Rise now in the inner place where everything has already occurred. Walk as one who possesses. Look as one who belongs. Give thanks as one who collects what has already been decreed. Close the court of circumstances and sit in the seat of the chosen state. Nothing escapes this order. Everything already is. It is within. And because it is within now, it must appear without. Remain steady in this understanding and let it mature without strain. You are not required to watch constantly, to monitor every movement of the world, or to measure progress by visible signals. Monitoring is the habit of doubt disguised as responsibility. Possession relaxes surveillance. Someone who owns does not check if the house still belongs to them every hour. They live inside it. Live inside the end you have chosen. Let your attention settle there as a natural residence, not as a task you must repeatedly perform. When the mind attempts to scan reality for confirmation, gently withdraw it and return it to being. Confirmation follows being, never the reverse. The moment you look outward to verify, you momentarily abandon the throne. This is not a mistake to judge yourself for, it is simply a cue to return. Return without commentary. Return without emotion. Just return. Remaining is the mastery. Notice how often language tries to sneak you back into effort. Phrases like I am trying, I am working on it, I am almost there, all subtly place the end in front of you instead of beneath your feet. Replace effort language with occupancy language. I am here. I am within it. I move from it. This shift may seem small, but reality reads precision. not volume. As days unfold, you may notice moments where nothing seems to move. Silence in the external does not mean inaction in the law. Seeds do not announce themselves while germinating. The soil looks unchanged until suddenly it is not. Resist the temptation to dig. Digging is mistrust. The one who knows the seed is alive does not disturb the ground. They continue living as if harvest is inevitable. There will be moments when others project their uncertainty onto you. They may ask for explanations, timelines, logic. Understand this clearly. Their questions are invitations to leave your state. You are not obligated to answer invitations that compromise your authority. Respond simply, or not at all. Simplicity preserves power. Excess explanation disperses it. If you must speak, let your words be minimal and neutral. Neutrality here is not indifference. It is sovereignty. You are not hiding. You are settled. Settlement does not need defense. The ocean does not argue with the wave. At times, emotion may rise unexpectedly. Old memories, old reactions, old fears may surface as the previous state dissolves. This does not mean regression. It means release. Let emotion pass through without assigning it meaning. Feeling is movement, not identity. Identity is the state you return to afterward. Return again and again without punishment. Authority is patient. You may notice that choices become easier, not because you know outcomes in advance, but because you know who you are being while choosing. Decisions made from the end feel clean. They lack drama. They lack inner debate. They feel obvious. This obviousness is guidance. Follow it quietly. As coherence deepens, the world will begin to test it. Small contradictions may appear, not to stop you, but to measure stability. Do not interpret tests as threats. They are calibrations. Remain unchanged. A compass does not spin wildly because clouds pass. It holds direction. Eventually, something subtle but unmistakable occurs. You stop waiting, not because everything has appeared, but because waiting no longer makes sense. You are no longer positioned before life, hoping to be admitted. You are inside life, moving naturally. When waiting dissolves, resistance dissolves with it. From this position, action becomes efficient. You do not force outcomes, but you do act. Action from possession is light. It does not exhaust. It does not overthink. It responds when appropriate and rests when complete. Rest is not delay. Rest is confidence. If at any moment you feel the urge to rush, pause. Rushing is the reflex of someone who believes something can be lost. What is truly possessed cannot escape. Let speed arise only when it is natural, never when it is anxious. Continue honoring the end without ceremony. No drama, no obsession, no bargaining. Just quiet fidelity. Fidelity to the chosen state is the highest discipline. And understand this final refinement: the law does not respond to intensity, it responds to consistency. A calm assumption held steadily outweighs passionate affirmations filled with doubt. Choose calm, choose steadiness, choose to remain. As you do, life will not need to be convinced. It will comply, not because it is generous, but because it is ordered. Form answers state. Effect follows cause. This has always been so. Remain. Settle now into the certainty that nothing more is required. There is no final step to add, no signal to wait for, no permission to receive. Completion is not something that arrives later. Completion is the state you occupy when you stop reaching. You have reached the end by standing in it. Let that be enough. From this point forward, simplify. Carry less mental weight. Release the habit of revisiting decisions that have already been made within. Revisiting is a subtle form of withdrawal. Honor what you have chosen by continuing to live from it. Living from it is the confirmation. Allow your days to unfold without commentary. Do what is in front of you with the calm competence of someone who knows the outcome is settled. Eat, work, rest, speak, and move without inner narration. Silence between thoughts is not emptiness. It is alignment. When gratitude arises naturally, let it pass through you without display. Quiet gratitude seals what noise cannot. When joy appears, do not clutch it. Possession does not grasp, it allows. When calm replaces urgency, recognize it as evidence of arrival, not as loss of momentum. You may notice that life begins to feel simpler, cleaner, less dramatic. This is not stagnation. This is efficiency. Drama belongs to uncertainty. Clarity moves without friction. Do not look back to measure how far you have come. Measurement belongs to the one who doubts continuity. Trust continuity. Trust the order you have entered. From here, your only responsibility is to remain faithful to the state you have installed. Faithfulness is not effort. It is loyalty. Loyalty does not strain. It stays. The world will respond in its own timing, through its own channels, using means you do not need to manage. Let it. Your work is finished at the level that matters. Rest in that. Walk from that. Choose from that. It is done.